Chicken this out. See if you can name this game.
Don't say nothing bad about the government. 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 If you do, you're a traitor. You're not patriotic. You get taken in front of a tribunal. You'll get disappeared. You'll get killed. Nobody will ever hear about you again. There's a war going on. Don't say nothing bad about the Attorney General. 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 He promised he would only wear his white sheets on the weekend on the hood. Now he wears them all week long, Oh, listen, I used to tell you this story about this retired football pro from in the South. He retired. He was a football pro, He's making, they busted him with all these sophisticated home security equipment, man. They busted him. They found him. He had less than 200 pounds and more than 100 pounds of marijuana, man. He wasn't making very much money. And in Europe, they think our drug laws are insane. They think that we're crazy. They think we're retro. They think we're immature. They think we're being, dictated to by some people that don't have the heads. It's legal in Europe. Marijuana is legal. They busted him, I mean, come on, get real. It's like, that's what they want. The Attorney General wants to get into your bank account. He wants to get into your bedroom. He's not into breasts. What happened? He didn't have a breast when he wasn't born. Come on, man. What did I think about that football pro? Did they think he's a terrorist? Come on. Well, you know what's going on. There's a war going on. Don't say nothing bad about the economy. Don't say nothing bad about the economy. Don't say nothing bad about the economy. Once there was a record surplus, and now there's a deficit, and those rich people, they're still getting richer, and you're not getting richer, and I'm not getting richer. Oh man, I think sometimes, what's going on here, man? There's abundance on this planet. There's so much on this planet. They're taking the resources of the planet to hurt people on the planet. If they took the resources to help the inhabitants of the planet, wow, this would be this. But they take it to hurt people. And it's not like. Then I started to think, wow, I thought. I wonder how much it costs to make a bomb. I bet you can't get them in the free bomb store. Don't say nothing bad about that guy living in the White House. Don't say nothing bad about that guy living in the White House. Don't say nothing bad about that guy living in the White House. Don't say nothing bad about that guy living in the White House. Okay, it's totally accepted now. Everybody agrees. He didn't win the election. In an election, people cast a ballot. They make a vote. They vote. There's a ballot. They count the ballots. The person who has the most ballots wins. That's how an election. He didn't win the election. He got there by some it was clever, really brilliant, clever legal maneuverings. It's like, and now what he's saying, if you say something, if you criticize me or the people that I'm with, then you're not patriotic. Then you're a traitor. That's why? There's a war going on. Don't say nothing bad about the government. Don't say nothing bad about the government. Don't say nothing bad about the government. Don't say nothing. Well, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Nobody cares too much anyway. They care a little bit, but they got their own thing going on. Don't talk about it. No. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. I mean, listen, man, I'll tell you, it's like, you say I've got a headache. This is going to be a discussion about whether about appearances and whether it's important or not. We were just talking about voting and whether voting was important or not. And Whispering Electrode was saying, well, if you don't vote, then, but people voted in some election, and what happened was the number of votes said one thing, and the result was something else. So you can tell me that it matters to vote, and I do believe it does. I vote.
Well, when you could be a little more specific with that, the way that it's set up, I believe the voting was accurate. And everybody did agree on the outcome of the election in question. The Electoral College may not be understood by all, but it is nonetheless part of our country.
No, I don't. That's not. We must have been reading a different newspaper because.
Yeah, tell me, come on.
What I heard was the person who got elected was so ineffective that he couldn't get himself installed, and the other person was so clever and knew people who made the final decision, like the Supreme Court and stuff like that. The bottom line. So he got into power, and the other guy couldn't even stop him. It's like So I always thought that when there's an election, people cast votes and they count the votes, and who has the most number of votes wins. And then I know there's rules that go along with that, but like there's things that change, like what happened. So then what happened was
That's what did happen, though, and it's a reason why it's not just a popular vote. I mean. Have you ever seen a popular vote that really is always good? It's electoral college.
That's just what we were talking about. We were talking about, if it matters whether you vote or not. And it really doesn't because of what we just saw. But it
does matter. If everybody eligible to vote would have voted the way they wanted to, then we would have the right people in.
Well, I think probably what you're really saying is that if everybody was responsible and got involved, as opposed, voting is just a matter of being involved, if everybody gets involved and interactive and with something that's going on, and you don't have to play
because it is ours after all.
It is ours, it's ours, it's mine and it's yours and it's everybody's. It is ours, it belongs to us. These people, claim that it's theirs, but and they're more them than us, but that's not true at all, and they're. We should probably,
And what about big business? If you don't like what they're doing, well, why don't you go in there and take them over just like they would do to you? You could buy them out, one share at a time, one share at a time.
This guy, Whispering Electrode, is a true dreamer. It's wonderful that people dream like him. It's really necessary that people dream like him. But it's unrealistic to think that anybody can take these people on. Maybe we can.
I think that everybody can take them on.
Well, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Nobody cares too much anyway. They care a little bit, but they got their own thing going on. Don't talk about it. No. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Listen, man, I'll tell you, it's like, you say I've got a headache. Look, this guy, I haven't the slightest idea. I think he's like, I've heard stories about him, and he's, I've heard that he's done like what humans would call miracles. I've heard stories about this guy, and I heard him teach for a week, and to be around him I liked it. And he said very intelligent things. He was being translated, and he talked in the beginning. He gave his credentials. It's required, just to say, here's where I came from, and here's what happened, and here's what happened and when happened. That's part of it's standard. And he got to a point, and he said, and then everything changed. Everything became effortless. And then every act that he did was like like that. It wasn't like me, where I'm trying to be okay and trying to help and trying to be cool and trying to all that. For him, it was effortless. It wasn't like he didn't. It was like everything. Never had to think about taxes or he thought about other things. I mean, he was a regular. He was a human. So he had all those things that happen to humans. But he was like So I just thought that was one of the most positive things I've heard in a long time, that it can happen, that it can change if we persevere and hang in there long enough and stabilize, like good thoughts and good actions, then everything can change, because somebody.
I recommend effortlessness to everyone.
That's what I meant to say. God. This is a song actually, well, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Nobody cares too much anyway. They care a little bit, but they got their own thing going on. Don't talk about it. No. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. listen, man, I'll tell you, it's like, you know, you say, I've got a headache, and next thing, a month later, they come back and they say, how's your headache? How's your headache? Hey, that was a month ago. You know, you say, I've got a psychosis. Every time they see you, how's your psychosis? How's your psychosis? Hey, I told you the psychosis. Wait, no, before that, I want you, whispering electrode is right. You know, doing it the right way is correct. Now, the right way is tricky because each person has a right way.
Oh, but that's where people go astray. There is only a right way that is universal. It's not an individual right way.
The right way is universal and individual. Each person has to find their own right way, which is universal. It is
they
universal.
Have to find their individual path to the main road, you might say. Yeah, everybody's going to be sleeping. Yeah. And we can't all stand right on top of each other.
Just don't put your hand in front of my camera, okay?
Yeah, it's going to be a little different for people from their point of view, but that doesn't mean that the right thing that they're all headed for isn't the same.
That's it. He says it so well, and he thinks he's in combat. It's interesting. He watches too many cartoons, but he has to. That's part of what he has to. It's part of his requirement. So he's okay. He's really okay, you know. So I think that this discussion is now complete.
That you agree that we should be involved in the government. We should be involved in business. We shouldn't just be sitting here flapping our gums. Bloop,
okay.
bloop, bloop. We should be actively doing it.
You know, there was a time when I thought that every single person should join the Army, and then we'd all be in the Army, and then it would be universally cool. And that's correct, but it didn't seem real practical. So I think we should all participate as much as we possibly can and not feel guilt when we can't. But also keep in mind, if you can't do something, you know, if you can't really get actively involved and do something, you know, then it's really important to, like, you know, talk about it with people, you know, talk about it with people you trust, you know, not, you know, because this is really tricky stuff, you know. And if you can't talk about it with somebody...
Well, but you were saying that you might want to reconsider being a critic of something unless you are actively experienced in it. Because how can you talk about something if you don't know what the heck you're talking about?
Well, you got to start somewhere. I agree, you know, sort of, but you got to start somewhere. So it's okay. It's okay.
You...
Don't feel shy. If you can't talk to a whispering electrode, you can talk to me. You know, we'll talk about it. You know, it'll be cool. You know. So, but if you can't talk about it, then think about it. You know, think about it. Think how you can make things better. That's all that counts. If you just wake up and, you know, every day as often as you can think, you know, well, this is how can I make things better? You know, that'll help. You know, and then maybe you'll find somebody you can talk to. But you know. You're getting to these arguments.
Well,
like me.
I like the thinking part, but I want to go beyond that thinking thing. That's great, everybody thinking woody, woody, woody in the fruity, fruity dreaming world, but I'm talking about doing it. I'm talking about doing it to live it in a simple, unified way.
He had too much sugar on his Wheaties this morning. That was a problem, man. He's on this, you know. He's like, for some reason, he's really amped up. I can't figure this out, but you know, well, all he's saying is like, it's cool. You know, think it, say it, do it, as much as you can. So don't flap your mouth. Oh, don't flap your mouth. Don't flap your mouth. You want somebody to pay attention to what's going on with you, man. I mean, you know, they got their own thing going on. And other people are telling them what's going on with them, man. You know, it's like, how much time can you pay attention to what's going on with you? I mean, if you could stabilize, you can, man. You can think this, you think that. It's going on and on. You know, it's like, okay, so like, you know, so, you know, well, you know, like, well, don't. You think.
Who, me?
Whispering Electrode thinks that right now what he's experiencing is the result of something that he's done that he can relate to. He thinks he's planned it, and he's done a good job, and that's why it's happening. Whispering Electrode is totally wrong. You know, everything that he's experiencing right now comes from some deep past. You know, that has very little to do with anything he's done in this particular birth. You know, and so.
Well, I have to disagree with you. In this particular birth, is what I did was completely go with the effortlessness approach, the simplicity. I finally quit all that other stuff.
Well, then he got it together. He stopped fighting. He stopped fighting it.
Yeah.
That's what happened. You know? So that's exactly what I was saying. You know, and so like you know, then you agree with me. Is what you're saying.
I think you're saying you agree with me.
Well, you see, that's why Whispering Electrode and LeRoy Montana chill together, man. Because like you know, they totally agree that you know. Finally.
Now what do we have to talk about? There goes the show.
That's it.
Nothing else left.
There's time. There's still time left.
Maybe some of those people disagree with this.